In this video, I'll be describing some of the aspects of SPOT, which is short for Simple PPM Orchestration Tool, which make it a centralized and standardized platform for all PPM integrations. Previous videos on our website, ppmetrics.com, demonstrate specific use cases and integrations with popular IT tools like Jira and ServiceNow. But before we continue, let's take a quick step back and briefly summarize what SPOT is all about. The Spot product was announced in 2020 and is used by both small and large organizations in Europe, America, and Australia for a variety of use cases. We often like to refer to it as a one-stop shop for all PPM integrations, regardless of the data flow direction, third-party data source, or use case. It turns the very complicated task of building PPM integrations into something very simple, while maintaining robustness, flexibility, and standardization. When it comes to data exchange, oftentimes the data needs to be cleaned up or some adjustment needs to be made, and Spot provides a user interface for cleaning up the data in a staging area. Integrations implemented using Spot have three stages: configuration, execution, and logging and reporting. I'll be diving a little bit deeper into each of these stages as part of the video. So let's talk about the very first phase, configuring integration, which has a bunch of steps in between. The very first step is to select a source and target, where OpenText PPM has to be one of them, and the non-PPM element can be a system, file, or database. So step B, once you've selected a source and target, the integration creator then selects the objects in both data sources for which data has to be exchanged. So setting up that apples to apples. Then in step C, Spot's going to interrogate both data sources, fetching the list of relevant fields from both, and allows the integration creator to work on step D, which is specifying the field mappings. This also includes special logic, such as setting up default values and data transformations. So for example, if we wanted to replace all the records in the target system or create only 2 records, that can be done as you create the field mapping. Lastly, in step E, the desired data merge operation between the source and target system gets defined. So all these different steps here get performed through an Excel UI, and it doesn't involve any coding or accessing of servers. However, for the actual execution, Excel doesn't necessarily need to be involved. It can be run entirely on the server. We're going to go ahead and see this in action using a simple use case of loading issues into PPM from a text file. And as a reminder, Spot supports much more complicated integrations involving vendors and custom systems. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual data source. So in our source file, we have a bunch of different issues. We have some that are existing. So these are existing issues. And we have about 5 new issues that we're going to create in the target system. We have fields such as assigned to, project, priority, escalation level, and description. So this is just a small sample for demo purposes, but Spot supports a very large number of records. Let's close this and take a look at Spot. So to the integration creator, it is simply just a macro-enabled Excel spreadsheet. We have the Spot tab here. The first thing we're going to do is click on the magnifying glass icon. Now we have to select our load template. I'm going to select issue load. So the load template has predefined mappings and configuration for our desired integration. So continuing on. The very first step is to select our data source and target. In this case, we're importing into PPM. The source or non-PPM system is going to be a file extract. If this was a third-party system, we would select the actual third-party system connector here in the type. In this case, we're just going to go ahead and select the file we just looked at. This is our file extract. Then on the target side, we have PPM. We're working with request and project issues. Moving on. So Spot went ahead and interrogated both systems, and based on the data load, created this default field mapping here. On the right hand side, you can perform different data operations. So for example, in this case, if we wanted to just work with high priority issues, we can actually set a filter to say we only work with high as the priority. Clicking OK. Spot went ahead and looked at that data source and then processed 11 records. Clicking OK. We now need to select the data merge operation to work with. In this case, we're going to use merge and create. We could have just chosen merge only, so it would not create any new values, but it would find any existing records and merge any changes. In this case, we're doing an actual load. You can also do a simulated load as well. Moving on. Spot went ahead and loaded those 11 records. So before we talk about this and actually execute the integration, let me just quickly go back to the deck and go to a few bullet points. In example, we just set up all the details of our integration with that external issues file. Now we can trigger the integration on an ad hoc basis or have it get executed automatically at any desired interval. If you just wanted to test integration, we could have just selected simulated load we saw in that last tab. When executing integration, Spot always validates the entire dataset before updates the target system, reports on an issue, and if needed, data can be cleaned up manually in that staging area which we just saw. And one last thing to note is that the actual updates to the target system are always performed using supported APIs of that system. So let's just say if the target system was Jira, you would actually be using Jira's own APIs to make that update. So let's go ahead and go back to our staging area. So based on those 11 records, we could see that from the existing request, there's a change to the priority. And these last couple below, 5 of them, I believe, are going to be created as new requests. Something like a quick change, we'll change this priority for the low for a new one to be normal. And since I'm going to run this integration ad hoc, I'll click on save. It looks like you found an issue. One or more of the cells contain invalid data. Please correct the cells highlighted in red after reviewing their comments. Okay, so it looks like this priority, urgent, has an issue. Let's take a look at the comment. The value urgent doesn't meet the cell's data validation. Click the drop down to see the valid values. So it looks like urgent was never part of the validation. So urgent sounds critical, so I'll just choose critical instead. And now we'll click on save again. Okay, it says 11 requests successfully processed. So Spot went ahead and reloaded itself. Looks like everything is okay now. And you can see from the last couple of rows below, it actually went ahead and created new requests. So here are the ID numbers, which serve as a link back into PPM. Clicking on a link. This is our newly created issue. So you went ahead and worked on stage 2. Let's work on the last stage, which is auditing, logging, and reporting. In a nutshell, the entire load's data, including the results of each record and the actual updates of the call being made, get stored to the database, which makes it very easy to report on and trace updates. And to view this information, we provide log reports, which you can easily modify and design to fit the needs for each integration. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the logs for that data load of our small little sample integration. Going back into Spot, and click this button here, click on the completed loads button, click on our last load. If I click on the generate API called log, what I'm going to go ahead and do is create 2 files, an Excel with the record from the source and the execution result, and a text file with the actual API request and response. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I went ahead and created Excel and the text file. Let's take a look at those. Okay, so looking at the Excel, we can see each record that we saw in our staging area, the source, and exactly what happened. Now let's take a look at the text file. And the text file actually shows the APIs in an XML format for each record as well. So let's go ahead and conclude. And it's these exact Spot capabilities that make the solution easy to use and applicable to all PPM integrations, and that's why we call it a one-stop shop for PPM integrations. If you have any integration needs, including custom systems, or a need to optimize and standardize your existing integration, Spot is the way to go. There's no longer any need to launch months-long custom development projects if you can simply leverage Spot to quickly set up powerful integrations. If you'd like to see a full demo solution or like to have more information, please feel free to contact us at info@ppmetrics.com or visit us at our website, ppmetrics.com. Thank you.